The King of Chaos by Too Strange, Andost, and Dani DaOrtiz, brought out by Hanson Chien Productions, is a brand new project built around the classic Triumph plot. It includes plenty of very important and thought-provoking theory from the master Dani DaOrtiz, and multiple very solid versions of the classic Triumph plot, including versions with a completely ungimmicked deck, along with the gimmicked deck versions. Is this right for you? Today, we're going to find out. We're going to try something cool with nothing more than a deck of cards. You can see they're all different. There's no duplicates or anything like that. Just say the word stop. Right there. Remember that card for me. We're going to leave it somewhere. Just say stop again. Right there. We're going to leave it right where you told me and gather everything up. Now we're going to cut the deck into two relatively even piles. We'll leave half face up. The other half can stay face down. Now we're going to mix them face up into face down. You can see they're really interlaced. And we're going to close that up and push them together. Now, your card's either face up on this side or it's face up on this side. We don't really know at the moment, but if we just snap our fingers, give it a wave, and take all the chaos out of the deck, then everything should go back to normal with the exception of one card and one card only. Your King of Spades. Before we get into the review, I want to tell you all something. Hanson Chien has provided me with a discount code, which should be on screen right now. It's BA10 at checkout. It's a code you can use at checkout when you purchase King of Chaos, if you purchase King of Chaos, depending on whether or not this is right for you, which you'll find out by the end of this review. And if you purchase with that code, you can save yourself some money because you get a discount on this item. However, this code is only limited to the first 10 people who use the code, and it will only exist for the next month or so. So if you plan on purchasing this, please use the code. It won't last long, I'm sure, and I don't make any money off of it, but it does help the channel out because it lets Hanson and his team know that these reviews are helping people make informed decisions with their money. And you are saving money if you use it, so it's a win-win. But without further ado, let's get right into this review of the King of Chaos. What do you get? When you purchase the King of Chaos, you'll receive this from Hanson Chien's website. It's a box, an exterior box. Inside of this exterior box, you will get a box that's similar to Bicycle, but it's not Bicycle. It's a mermaid box, and it's kind of like a knockoff Bicycle almost. And the back design is pretty much identical to Bicycle though. The reason for that is because Bicycle unfortunately has made it illegal to specially print gaffs on standard Bicycle back design. However, the back design of these cards, as I said, is nearly identical to Bicycle's. So if you took the cards out of the mermaid box and put it in a regular Bicycle tuck case, no one would be the wiser. And the deck of cards is specially printed with a very cool set of gimmicks. What is the quality of the gimmick? They are just cards. There's no rough and smooth magnets or anything that could break. These will last you as long as you take care of them, or as long as any deck of cards would last. You do have to make a very quick procedure, which is kind of like arts and crafts, but it takes less than a minute to do so, and it's very simple. It's very easy. That said, I do wish they would have done it for you because it's really not that much work. I feel like they easily could have just done that simple step for you. Now, how is the tutorial? The tutorial is very good. It's almost an hour and a half long. Andost, Dani DaOrtiz, and Too Strange are teaching the tutorial. Certain components are in English, but certain components are in Chinese. There are subtitles though, so you can put those on for the Chinese segments if you don't speak Chinese. That's what I did. Or put them in the English section if you don't speak English. However, I found the tutorial had a lot of important information on how to utilize the chaotic elements of a Triumph routine to make it more powerful to the audience. Dani's theory is awesome. There are a few segments. First of all, you'll see what you receive in the box. Then you'll learn a very cool Triumph routine that does not use the gimmick deck. It's called the Real Chaos Triumph, and it just uses a regular bicycle deck. And I'm very happy that they included that extra routine because it allows you to perform Triumph even if you don't have this gimmick deck on hand. The ordinary deck routine, the Real Chaos Triumph, it allows you to perform Triumph even if you don't have this. So if you want to borrow a deck of cards from someone, you can still perform a very killer Triumph. The ordinary deck routine is very convincing and it feels very chaotic as well. It's not too knuckle busting either. It just will take a bit of mental practice. Then Andost and Too Strange will move on to the gimmicked deck Triumph. There are two handlings. The first handling is where the spectator selects a card, and the second handling is where they don't select a card. These are called the ribbon spread triumphs. It looks insanely good because you can show both sides of the deck mixed together. That said, you will have to be quite careful due to the design of these cards to not be clumsy with the cards, or else you could flash. A minor flash would be slightly discrepant, but I doubt anybody would notice because everything just seems normal. They're not looking for anything, but you will still want to be careful not to flash. It looked insanely good. It is so visual. That is the routine I showed you earlier on. And without even manipulating or doing anything with the deck, you go from one moment where all the cards are clearly mixed face up and face down on both sides. And without doing any sleight of hand, you go immediately into an organized deck. And that is very, very powerful. And after all of this, which is insanely clean, you get to the gold. Dani DaOrtiz's Triumph Theory. All in all, it was a very informative tutorial and there is a lot you can learn from it. Now, method-wise, this is not a new type of method. There are many different effects with this kind of principle. However, the construction of this gimmicked deck is slightly different and in a good way. It's difficult to explain without giving away the method, but the pattern of the printing makes it easier to spread the cards in a typical fashion. And although I say the overarching method isn't new, this is the first time I've ever seen this specific method applied to a Triumph routine. I've never seen a Triumph routine with this method before. What are the angles like? This is completely angle proof and can be performed surrounded. Are there any live performances? Yes, the tutorial has multiple live performances. Is this examinable? The first routine, the Real Chaos Triumph, is completely examinable. After all, it can use a borrowed shuffled deck. However, the Ribbon Spread Triumph cannot be examined by the audience at all. They can only examine their card, which is the only face-up card left in the deck. But I would never hand out the rest of the deck. That is way too scary. Let's talk about difficulty and practicality. In terms of difficulty, although moves-wise, the Real Chaos Triumph is the most difficult, I still think it's the easiest out of all of them, because here's my thinking. Although the Ribbon Spread Triumph is pretty much self-working as long as you can spread a deck of cards, you will have to be quite cognizant and thoughtful with your actions to make sure everything's copacetic and that you do not flash. And that will take practice. It's even if there are slight flashes, which is going to happen here and there, it's very unlikely that the spectators would notice, especially because of the way that it is routined. However, I just want to err on the side of caution and be very careful with all of my movements to make sure I don't flash. This is quite practical, but you do need a table for the handlings taught at least. You could modify the handlings so you wouldn't need a table. That seems like something you could easily do with just a little bit of thinking. And I've tried playing around with it, and you can do it. You can absolutely do it in the hands. You just have to modify the handling a little bit. But this is practical for close-up magic, walk around, and in my opinion, it's the strongest out of close-up show. Especially the Ribbon Spread Triumph, because the Ribbon Spread Triumph, it is absolutely beautiful, and it just feels so pure, the way you can show both sides being chaotic, and then without even manipulating them, just spreading them and showing it goes back to normal. Now, the reason I think it works best for the close-up show is because I think it would work well with music, and that's how Andost and Too Strange present it. And also because in a close-up show, you don't really have to worry about reset, which we will get to shortly. Is there any DIY? Yes. However, it is very easy and only takes about a minute to do it. I still wish they could have done it for you though, because it is really simple, and I can't imagine it would have taken them too much time to do the DIY for us. How much pocket space is required? The real Chaos Triumph just requires a regular deck. For the ribbon spread Triumph version, you have to carry this whole gimmick deck to do the Triumph. That's not necessarily a bad thing. However, you have to be aware that it is a one-trick pony and there's only one thing you can use the deck for. So you have to consider whether or not it's worth carrying around this deck of cards just to perform that trick. What is the reset like? For the real Chaos version, the reset is instant. The ribbon spread version takes about 1 minute to reset, and you will not want to do it in front of your audience. That's one thing I didn't really love about this. You have to do a reset. For that reason, if I were to perform this, as I said earlier, I think this would work best for a close-up show, because you really don't have to worry about reset for close-up shows, and it's just a beautiful piece of magic, the ribbon spread. I don't think I've ever really seen a Triumph this clean where you can show both sides, and then without culling, without doing any shifts, just spreading it out, and then it immediately having solved, immediately having restored back to order. I've never seen a Triumph that is that pure. But you still, the trade-off with that is you'll have to be extra careful to not flash when you're spreading everything, when you're doing all the movements. You'll have to be careful not to flash, and that'll come with practice. What is the price of this? When you purchase this with my discount code, you can purchase it for around 35 United States dollars. And I think this is around the standard price for a gaff deck of cards, but you're not only receiving a gaff deck of cards, you're receiving a ton of theory. You're receiving multiple versions and ways to perform Triumph. So I think it's absolutely worth the price. If you like the look of this Triumph, and I absolutely love it, it looks beautiful, I think it is worth the price. What are the pros and cons? The pros are this has a gimmicked and gimmickless version taught. It's very visual and clean. It's very powerful, and there's no apparent manipulation. It feels very pure. The cards also have nothing that will break. It's angle proof. The theory taught by Dani DaOrtiz is great. The tutorial is good. The King of Chaos Triumph resets instantly and is examinable. Lots of work has went into this project, clearly. This can be performed with very little skill. And as for the cons, I guess the cards aren't bicycle. They are a knockoff version. Also, there is a DIY procedure you have to do if you plan on performing the ribbon spread version. It is a one-time setup, but I wish they had done it for you. Also, there is a reset, and for most versions of this effect, you do need a table. And also, the ribbon spread version is not examinable, and the ribbon spread version can be slightly discrepant, and you'll have to be more cognizant in order to make sure you're not flashing. But what percent am I giving this? I am giving King of Chaos an 84%. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Remember to pick this up using the discount code BA10 at checkout or the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I helped you determine whether or not this is something that is up your alley and something that you should buy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.